Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, checking your bank account, and realizing your paycheck is already gone. Not because someone stole it, not because you made a terrible investment. It's gone because a version of yourself from 3 years ago quietly decided how today's money would be spent. Before you buy breakfast, before you save your first dollar, before you even think about investing in your future, your paycheck has already been divided into rent, car payments, subscriptions, insurance, and credit card bills. The truth is, most people believe they're working to build tomorrow, when in reality they're spending every month paying for yesterday's decisions. And the most dangerous part? It feels completely normal. Until one day you realize you've been running as fast as you can without actually moving forward. Nobody plans to become financially trapped. In fact, every decision usually feels reasonable at the time. The nicer apartment feels like a reward for working hard. The newer car feels safer. The streaming services only cost a few dollars each month. The expensive phone comes with easy monthly payments. One by one, each decision seems harmless. But life has a strange way of collecting those tiny promises until they become something much larger. Years later, you aren't making choices anymore. You're simply honoring commitments made by someone you used to be. The frightening part is that your younger self never asked whether your older self would still want this life. Here's something nobody tells you about earning more money. Every raise gives you two choices. You can buy a better life, or you can buy a more expensive version of the exact same one. Most people never notice the difference. Their salary grows, so their lifestyle quietly grows with it. A larger apartment, better furniture, more subscriptions, more expensive vacations. Eventually, every extra dollar they earn is already spoken for. From the outside, they look wealthier than ever. From the inside, they still feel one paycheck away from falling behind. The prison simply became more comfortable. Imagine carrying a backpack. Every year, someone quietly places another brick inside. One brick is the car payment. Another is the furniture you financed. Then comes the vacation you promised yourself you'd pay off later. None of those bricks are heavy by themselves. In fact, you barely notice each one when it's added. But after 10 years, you've forgotten what walking without the weight even feels like. That's exactly how financial obligations work. They don't steal your freedom overnight. They slowly convince you that carrying the weight is simply what adulthood is supposed to feel like. Then, one ordinary Thursday afternoon, something changes. You aren't looking at your paycheck anymore. You're looking at your calendar. Every meeting, every overtime shift, every weekend you gave up, every hour exists because of decisions that are already behind you. And for the first time, a strange question enters your mind. What if financial freedom doesn't begin with earning another $20,000 a year? What if it begins by needing $20,000 less? That single question feels small, but questions like that have a way of changing entire lives. Because once you stop asking how to earn more and start asking how to owe less, you begin walking toward a completely different future. A year passes, and something you've been waiting for finally happens. Your boss calls you into the office, thanks you for your hard work, and hands you a raise. For a few minutes, everything feels different. You leave the building smiling, imagining how much easier life is about to become. But within weeks, the extra money quietly disappears. The apartment gets upgraded. The car payment gets a little bigger. Weekend dinners become more expensive. Your paycheck grows, but so do your expectations. Before long, you're earning more than ever before. Yet somehow you still find yourself checking your bank account before every purchase. That's when you realize a painful truth. Earning more money doesn't automatically create freedom. Sometimes it simply creates a more expensive version of your old life. One evening, while driving home after another long day, you stop at a red light and look around. Every car beside you is filled with people just like you. They leave home before sunrise, fight traffic, work all day, and return exhausted. Tomorrow they'll do it again. Not because they hate their lives, but because their lives have become too expensive to pause. At that moment, you begin to wonder whether success is really measured by how much you earn or by how little your life costs to maintain. For the first time, the road in front of you feels less like a journey and more like a treadmill that never stops moving. The following weekend, something unusual happens. Instead of buying something new, you decide to cancel 3 subscriptions you barely use. You cook dinner at home instead of ordering takeout. You skip the impulse purchase that would have been forgotten by next month. None of these decisions make you feel deprived. In fact, they create something far more valuable than excitement. They create space. For the first time in years, your money isn't racing away from you. It's waiting for your next decision. And strangely enough, that feeling is richer than buying anything ever was. Every financial decision does one of two things. It either gives your future more choices or fewer. Every unnecessary payment quietly steals another hour you'll have to work next month. Every dollar you don't owe becomes another piece of tomorrow that belongs to you instead of someone else. That's when you stop asking, "Can I afford this?" Instead, you begin asking a far more powerful question. Is this worth trading a piece of my future? And suddenly, almost everything starts looking more expensive than it did before. That night, you write a sentence on a blank page and leave it where you'll see it every morning. Wealth is not the ability to buy anything. Wealth is the ability to need less. It seems too simple to change a life, but over the coming years, that single idea quietly reshapes every decision you make. You stop chasing appearances and start chasing freedom. You stop asking how rich someone looks and begin asking how much of their time truly belongs to them. Because in the end, the wealthiest person in the room isn't always the one driving the nicest car. It's often the one who owns tomorrow. 30 days pass. Nothing dramatic happens. Your salary doesn't double. You don't become rich overnight. There isn't a life-changing phone call or a lucky investment waiting around the corner. But something much more important begins to happen. For the first time in years, a small part of your paycheck survives until the end of the month. It sits quietly in your account, almost unnoticed, like a seed planted beneath the soil. Most people ignore moments like this because they don't look impressive, but every oak tree was once invisible beneath the ground. Financial freedom doesn't begin with $1 million. It begins with the first dollar that doesn't already belong to someone else. You decide to automate a small investment every payday. It's not a large amount. In fact, most people would laugh at how little it is, but that's exactly why it matters. You're no longer waiting until you have extra money to invest. You're making your future a priority instead of an afterthought. Every payday, before the world has a chance to convince you to spend it, a portion quietly disappears into an investment account. At first, the balance barely moves, but you're no longer measuring progress by the number. You're measuring it by the habit. Because habits become systems, and systems quietly build lives. A few weeks later, your coworkers are planning another expensive weekend trip. Everyone is excited. Someone asks why you aren't coming this time. For a moment, you almost make up an excuse. Then you simply smile and say, "I'm working on something bigger." They laugh politely and continue planning. They think you're missing out. What they don't realize is that every decision creates 2 stories. The one everyone sees today and the one you'll be living 10 years from now. Most people only notice the first story because the second one takes patience to reveal itself. Months become a year, and something fascinating begins to happen. Your life doesn't look dramatically different from the outside. You still drive the same car. You still live in the same apartment. You still make your coffee at home. But beneath the surface, everything has changed. Every month, your obligations become smaller while your options become larger. Every payment you eliminate gives tomorrow a little more breathing room. You finally understand something schools rarely teach. Wealth isn't built by dramatic moments. It's built by quiet decisions repeated long enough that they become impossible to ignore. One afternoon, your manager congratulates you on another promotion. A few years ago, this would have been the biggest moment of your year. Today, it feels different. You're grateful, but you're no longer depending on this promotion to save your future. That's because your future is no longer sitting in someone else's office waiting for approval. It's quietly growing in the background every single day, whether you receive another raise or not. And that's when you realize you've received something far more valuable than a promotion. You've begun buying back control over your own life. Then life does what it always does. It tests every lesson you've learned. One afternoon, your company announces budget cuts. Rumors spread through the office faster than wildfire. People begin updating their resumes. Some panic. Others pretend nothing is happening. A few quietly calculate how many weeks they could survive without a paycheck, only to realize the answer is painfully short. You feel the same uncertainty everyone else feels, but something inside you is different now. For the first time, your future isn't hanging by a single thread. You still need your job, but your entire life no longer depends on your next paycheck arriving exactly on time. That's the strange thing about financial freedom. It doesn't remove uncertainty, it removes panic. That evening, you open your banking app, not because you're worried, but because you're curious. Sitting quietly in your savings account is something that didn't exist a few years ago. Time. 3 months of living expenses, then 6. Every dollar in that account represents another day your future belongs to you instead of your employer. Most people think an emergency fund is about money. It isn't. It's about choices. It gives you the freedom to walk away from a toxic job, survive an unexpected setback, or simply sleep peacefully, knowing one bad month won't destroy years of progress. Money, at its best, doesn't buy happiness. It buys breathing room. A month later, another company offers you an interview. Years ago, desperation would have forced you to accept almost any offer with a higher salary. But today, something remarkable happens. Instead of asking only what the company can pay you, you begin asking different questions. Will this job give me time with my family? Will I respect the people I work with? Will this work improve my life or simply increase my income? For the first time, you're choosing your career from a position of strength instead of fear, and that changes every answer. Driving home after the interview, you notice something you would have ignored years ago. The sky is painted orange as the sun begins to set. Families are walking through the neighborhood. Children are riding bicycles. For once, you aren't rushing toward another obligation. You slow the car down, roll the window open, and let the evening air fill the silence. That's when it finally hits you. Wealth isn't measured by the size of your paycheck. It's measured by how much of your day actually belongs to you. The richest moments of life rarely cost anything at all. They simply require enough freedom to notice them. Years earlier, success meant owning more. Today, it means owing less. It means waking up without immediately worrying about money. It means making decisions because they fit your values instead of your monthly payments. Somewhere along the way, your definition of wealth quietly changed. You stopped chasing a lifestyle designed to impress strangers and started building a life that brought you peace. And that's the irony nobody tells you. The moment you stop trying to look rich is often the moment you finally begin becoming wealthy. One Saturday afternoon, Your younger brother calls and asks if you have a few minutes. His voice sounds familiar because it reminds you of yourself 10 years ago. He tells you he's earning more money than ever, but somehow every month still ends the same way. The paycheck arrives, the bills leave, and nothing changes. He asks you the question almost everyone asks at some point in life. What's the secret? How did you finally get ahead? You smile because you already know he's expecting a complicated answer. Maybe a stock tip, maybe a business idea, maybe some hidden investment strategy. But the truth is much simpler than that. You tell him, I didn't become free because I earned more. I became free because I slowly stopped promising my future away. There is silence on the other end of the phone. Then you explain that every unnecessary payment is really a future workday waiting to happen. Every dollar borrowed today quietly asks your future self to work another hour tomorrow. Real wealth isn't built by adding more income forever. It's built by creating enough space that your income finally has somewhere to stay. Freedom begins the day your paycheck starts working for you instead of everyone else. That evening, you open an old notebook you've kept for years. The first page contains a sentence you almost forgot writing. Wealth is the ability to need less. You smile because those words once sounded impossible. Today, they simply describe your life. You never became the richest person in town. You never owned a mansion or a private jet. But you did gain something millions of people spend their entire lives chasing. You gained the ability to wake up without feeling owned by yesterday. The next morning feels exactly like every other morning. The coffee tastes the same. The sunrise looks the same. The birds sing the same songs. The world hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changed is you. Tomorrow no longer feels like something you're afraid of. It feels like something you're building. Brick by brick. Choice by choice. Day by day. And that's the beautiful thing about financial freedom. From the outside, it often looks completely ordinary. But from the inside, it feels like breathing fresh air after holding your breath for years. Maybe that's the lesson nobody teaches us when we're young. Financial freedom doesn't arrive in a single dramatic moment. It arrives quietly, hidden inside hundreds of ordinary decisions that nobody applauds. The decision to spend a little less, to save a little more, to borrow less, to invest consistently, to stop asking how rich you look, and start asking how much of your life actually belongs to you. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize something extraordinary. Your paycheck no longer belongs to yesterday, it belongs to tomorrow, and that is a feeling no luxury purchase could ever replace.